Good evening, Perfect Dawah. I think you might want to switch off your YouTube. We can hear that playing in the background.
Yeah, hello, good evening. I have switched off the YouTube.
Good.
Yes.
Good evening to you, sir. I think
Yeah,
you
good
are the
evening.
gentleman that spoke to Pine Creek, are you not?
Yes, I am.
That's right. Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, whatever you feel comfortable in
Yeah.
disclosing, because other people might not know who you are.
Yeah, I was born in a Muslim family, and as many so-called, I say, ex-Muslims, because I don't believe I was Muslim just because I was born in a Muslim family, as I don't believe these so-called ex-Muslims were Muslims either. They were just born in a Muslim family. So I became atheist at the age of 25 because of lack of knowledge. And then later, when I got better knowledge of different things, then I realized that I was wrong, that God exists, and that Abrahamic religions all together, they are messages of God. And I found that Islam is the final message of God. And I convert to Islam, not because God exists, just because Islam has a message that can guide us to a beautiful world, a world without any problems. So that's why I converted to Islam, not because Allah exists, not because Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was his messenger, no. So this is a little bit about myself. And unfortunately, I see many people misunderstand the concept of religion. I mean, the true religion of God. That God. Hello.
Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah. Okay. There was a background noise and then disappeared. I thought that I was. Okay.
No, it's all good.
Yes. Very good. Anyway, I believe that God created us as animals. Okay. With the animal behavior, but he tried to guide us to live like human being and die like human being. And unfortunately, many live like animals and die like animals. And some live like human beings and die like human beings. So the reward is for those who live like human beings, and everywhere in Quran is all about doing good deeds. Okay, and I don't know why people try to reject that. People like you, that why doing good deeds, helping other people is so bad that you reject it. And if I, for example, accept yours, may I ask you, are you atheist or you believe in any religion?
No, we're mixed. There's different people here. We have people who don't have any gods. We have people who have different gods. So there's different opinions here.
Okay, which God, for example, those who have God?
Well, we have Vishnu, we have Sikhs,
Yeah.
we have Jews, we have Christians, we have all sorts of people here. This is not a atheist-only channel.
Yeah, okay. This is a problem that, I found, for example, I see many fellow Muslims, they also try to say that Jesus wasn't Son of God or he wasn't God and so on. I always, when I go to a discussion, I try to say what Islam has to offer, okay? I don't say that, for example, Hinduism or Vishnu, they are not God. Or if they have something to present for us humans, because we have a lot of problems on this planet, prostitution, drugs, war, poverty, all these problems. If your religion has the solution to these problems, then I would accept your religion, okay? So I'm not here to bash your religion or say, oh, your religion is bad and so on. And this is very wrong from you guys to sit here. And for example, right now you were saying about, fasting, that I live in Sweden myself, okay? And I know in North Sweden, it's 24 hours daytime during summer, okay? But you have to understand that there is a system in Quran. When you don't know it, then you don't understand it. And then you start to, attack Islam and say, oh, it is crazy. Islam has a system in it. It is called ijtihad system, okay? And that ijtihad system is a system that has to adapt Quranic rules to the time and to the place, okay? So it is not like this, that in North Sweden you have to die of hunger. No, Allah on another side says that I don't want you hardship. I don't want to put something, put you in a situation that you cannot manage it. All right. So if in fasting in such a situation becomes like, the time that our Prophet was fasting, like 13 hours or 14 hours per day. So it is not like this that just sunset and,
Okay, perfect. Dawah, may I ask you?
Yes, please.
How can we address you? Is there a name you want to share, or should we say maybe your screen name, or what's the easiest way to watch?
Yeah, you can call me Muji.
Muji.
That's perfect. Dawah is my channel.
I mean, there's lots we can talk to you about. Yes. I think on here, as far as I know, my colleagues here are atheists. I've actually thought about it a bit more. I'm atheist towards at least the Abrahamic gods, and I'm apatheist towards any other god that, unless it's a knowable concept. But I won't go into that now. But you said that presumably you've read the whole Quran, have you?
Yeah, I have read, but I haven't memorized it. Okay.
No, that's fine. I'm not asking you to, and that's fine. We haven't either, as far as my colleagues know more about many of the things than I do. But my approach is I look at the Quran and I go, okay, if this is from God, then I would expect it to be a clear and complete message. And you brought up fasting. And here's what I would expect. You and I look at this very differently, I think. I read the book and I go, okay, when it comes to fasting, why is it good to fast? What is the evidence for this? And how might this be done around the world? Presumably Allah knows that Islam will spread. He knows that different countries like yours will have, summer, will have the sun the whole year round. So can he not put this into the Quran and give clear instructions? Because at the moment, that's not the case. And now human beings have to make up something to overcome this deficiency. Because if it were the case that you lived there and you were not allowed, in other words, if you had to follow the Quran accurately without some other human input, you would not be able to eat or drink at all for 30 days and you would die. So in order to avoid that, some humans have made up some concept because Allah didn't seem to, or was unable to do so in the Quran.
Okay.
And that's not what I would expect from an all-powerful God who wants to send me a message about one of the most important 5 pillars of Islam. How do I do that in a country that has 24 hours sunlight?
Okay, from another, this, first of all, it is Shia and Sunni have different pillars of Islam, okay? For example, in Shiism, this is not a pillar of Islam.
But that's not relevant because
anyway,
Shia.
There is no pillar of Islam, okay, in Quran. So this is different schools of Islam have different pillar of Islam. So anyway, and I told you that there is a system, verses of Quran as well has to be adjusted to the time as well, not only to the place but to the time. That's why Islam has this system of ijtihad, I said. So the clerics, the mujtahideen, we call it, they have to adapt it or change it. For example, like verses of slaveries, okay? It wasn't possible to abolish slavery 1400 years ago. Now these scholars, they have to say that these verses are abolished now, okay? Because this was just for 1400 years ago, these verses, and now we are not going to follow these kind of verses. So this is the system.
Muji, you're talking quite a lot. You got a very clear question.
Yes.
The question was why. We understand the background, but the question is why.
Why what?
I'll restate
why
the question
do you get
again,
this?
Muji.
Yeah, why is
Quran,
it? Yes, why
so,
Quran?
Muji, if I may.
Yeah, okay.
Just let me.
Yes.
Do you remember my question?
Yes. You said why he didn't say 1400 years ago that there are places that 24 hours is because people wouldn't understand. Their knowledge was very narrow. They would think that, oh, this Muhammad is crazy. How can be some, even today in 21st century, my family are in Iran. When I tell them that here North Sweden 24 hours is light, they cannot believe it. Okay, it is
okay.
Say,
That's just
wow,
okay.
How
I
can it be
understand
possible?
that. Muji, I understand that they don't believe it. That's just because they're ignorant and they haven't been to the country. But the question is this book for all people for all time? Or was this book only written and devised for people in the 7th century who didn't know virtually anything about anywhere else on the planet?
Okay, let me answer your question. Okay, even while Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was alive, the revelation, some of them was for just few weeks. Okay, so it wasn't for all time. After a few weeks, it was abrogated. Okay, it was old. So this is some of the verses are for all time, but some verses are for a period of time. Like I told you about slavery. Okay, that was only for 1400 years ago when it wasn't possible to abolish it. Okay, so I say, let's say that this is not at all, a revelation of God. Okay, I found something incredible in Quran. Okay, there is a background again. I start to hear very noisy.
Might be somebody's computer.
Now,
maybe it's Nick. Yeah.
Now it's better. Now it's better. Okay. I say that I found the solution to every single problems, or on this planet, that even you people living in 21st century, you cannot understand it. Okay, majority of Muslims don't understand it.
Muji, you're talking again. You're not answering the question.
I told you, but you don't want to listen.
You're talking and talking. You're going off on a tangent. You're talking about slavery. You're talking about all sorts of
those things.
No,
can you just answer the question first?
But if you don't want to understand it, so how can I told you that verses of Quran, okay, some of the verses of Quran were just for a few weeks. So you cannot say it is for all time, forever.
Okay.
No,
let me ask you.
Let me tell you, that's ISIS. That's backward Muslims who say that.
Okay, I'm accepting that's your view. Let me ask you this: when it talks about in the Quran that you can when you can fast and so forth, were those instructions for all time, or were those only for the 7th century?
No. The fasting is for all time, okay? But the timing, okay? The timing, which there was no any, watches or clocks at that time. So it was measured by sunset and sunrise, okay?
Yes.
Sunrise and sunset. So, but today that's why I said we have mujtahideen, the ijtihad system in Islam, to change it for places that it's not possible, like North Sweden and North Pole or South Pole. Okay, because
that's
in winter,
the question. Why? It's very simple. Why?
Why what?
Why do you need human beings to go and correct a God who doesn't seem to know that there are people who are living in regions where there will be day or night for 3 months?
Okay, so you think that it is your understanding that you say God doesn't know. I say God knows. People of 1400 years ago didn't know it.
But
yeah, they did.
This is the God of the universe. How come he doesn't know of the Arctic or the Antarctic regions? How does he not know that?
Do you understand me? I say God knows. People of 1400 years ago didn't know that. Not God. God knows everything. Did I say God doesn't know?
Rob asked you a question. He said, why is it that a God is unable to communicate clearly what this God actually wants, but has to wait for human beings to correct the mistakes?
Listen to me. I said that he waited billions of years, okay, for something to happen. Okay, he could wait 1400 years for people of 21st century to change it, to understand it. Okay, so let's say that this is not verse at all revelation of God. Okay, let me ask you, if I leave Islam because I want to live in a world, okay, without prostitution, without drugs. I told you that I converted to Islam not because Allah is God, not because Prophet Muhammad was a prophet of God.
You're talking again. Come on, please stay on topic. The question is so clear, and now you're waffling and waffling and waffling. Come on, please, if you cannot answer the question, just say I do not have an answer.
All right, I told you the answer, but you don't understand it and you don't want to accept it because you just want to go against it. Okay, so what is
you have not given us an answer. You are talking about all sorts of things.
Yeah,
what is the answer? Why is it that we do not find clear instructions in the Quran?
Because 1400 years ago wasn't possible. That's all. People
I understand that.
Yeah, people wouldn't understand it. You know, but I can play for you a video from 1948, and you see people 1948 in desert, how they were living. You know, you cannot think that these people would understand the minimum. Okay, so now think about 1400 years ago, how they were. My God, they didn't even know how to read and write. Okay,
I understand that, right? So
yes.
your view is the reason why God did not explain it in the Quran at that time is because the people would have no concept of what it means for a country to be have continuous daylight for 3 months. Is that the position you take?
It's not exactly 3 months, but anyway, it's
okay. Well, 2.5 months, whatever it is. There's a period of time where countries in the north or the south of this planet are in daylight for 24 hours continuous. In other words, the sun never sets for a period of time.
Yes,
and your view is the reason it wasn't in the Quran is because the people in the 7th century wouldn't understand it. But then I asked you specifically, was this criteria, was this fasting and the times when you're supposed to fast for all people for all time? And you said yes. Now, if that's the case, I can correct the Quran and make it better immediately. All I have to do is say, and people of the book, people in the 7th century, there will be places on earth that you will spread to in many years' time where the sun will never set. And I, Allah, say to you, at a specific time of day, you may start to eat, even though the sun doesn't set. I've allow you to do so because the sun will not set. You don't know this yet, but it will come to pass and you will know that I am God. Do you think that if that was added to the Quran, it would have been better?
It was out of people's understanding at that time, and Allah decided to leave it to the time that people left it for these mujtahideen to change it, to
wasn't this
guide people,
No, wasn't this supposed to be the final message of God?
It is the final message of God, not because of this fasting. I said that you don't allow me to explain for you what is the final message of God. The final message of God is to get rid of all these problems you are facing on this planet.
Your original critique that you came in with, there were two things that we can talk about. I mean, there's lots of things we can talk about, and I'll open it up to my colleagues here. One was you critiqued us on the idea that we were saying about the fasting and Ramadan, etc. And we were talking about that. And my critique against you was that if it were the case, I understand that you're saying that the people at the time wouldn't have understood certain concepts. But I also said to you that if it were the case that Allah said, hey, you will not understand this, but my message will go out across the world, even after your death, to people in lands that you have never seen or don't even know about, and I send the message out to them. And part of that message is that fasting, which is a very important part of Islam, if you are in a country that I, as Allah, know, that is in certain parts of the world that you as Muslims do not yet know, if the sun never sets, I say to you that here is the criteria by which you can now choose, you can eat and you can stop your fast. Because I, Allah, Lord of the worlds, know all of this. You, as the Muslims, don't need to worry about this because it doesn't affect you, but it will affect people that will fall under my, ideas thousands of years later. Why is that not in the Quran? Because now your critique that it only applies to the 7th century is null and void. You cannot use that argument against what I've just said to you.
All right. Can I answer you, Rob?
Sure.
My problem is not what happened 1400 years ago. My problem is what's happening today. And I found the solution to all these problems in Islam. And I said to you, if you can show me a better way, I would convert to that way. I leave Islam beside. So I don't understand. Is your problem? No, let me see. If the biggest problem on this planet is Islam, that you are putting so much time on attacking Islam, is the problem Christianity? Is the problem Hinduism or Vishnu? That, for example, I see also, as I said from beginning, my fellow Muslim, I see so many different discussion about if God, Jesus was son of God, or he was God, or he was prophet of God. These are not our problems today. God didn't want us to pick up these problems. The problems we are facing on this planet is now prostitution, drugs, war, poverty, all these problems. So the source of these problems, God has tried to show us the source of these problems and the solution to these problems, how to solve these problems. Let's talk about that. That's our problems.
Moji, yes, Moji, I have a counter question to it, and I think Rob asked it before you.
Let me just respond, Moose, and then you can take over. All right, I understand what you're saying, right? You're saying that you're not particularly interested in what happened 1400 years ago,
Yes.
So I just want to ask you one thing to clarify. You didn't join Islam because you think it's true and you've got good arguments for its veracity, i.e. its truth value. You joined it because there was a pragmatic value in it giving you some solutions to today's problems. Is that a fair summary?
Not delays, to solve the problems.
To solve the problem. So you've joined it because it's given you solutions by your lights that will solve today's problems, but you are not a Muslim who says, I joined it because I think Allah is in fact real and Muhammad is his messenger. I have good reasons to believe that's the case. Rather, you joined because it's given you these other reasons to solve today's problems. Is that a fair summary of your position?
Can I also explain for you that if that uneducated person or illiterate person 1400 years ago had the solution to all our problems today, then he should have gotten this message from a higher power. Okay. But anyway, that's not my first concern, that he was prophet of God, or as I said, that if Allah, the Almighty God, or Vishnu, or Jesus, or I don't know, Ganesha, if they cannot solve our problems, I better follow a prime minister or a president, okay, to solve our problems. So that's my position. Okay. Now tell me, do you know what is the source of all our problems and the solution? Is your religion or whatever you believe in, does that one has the solution? Let me also ask you a question. Not that you just everybody ask me question. Okay. I say that I have this, okay, this solution. All right. Doesn't matter. It was a Muhammad, Quran, or whoever. I have a solution here in my hand. I say it is in Quran. Okay. But whatever. If you want to listen to it, just let me explain for me. If you don't want, then tell me what is your solution, your religion or whoever. You can pick up a leader, say that this leader, okay, has a solution to our problems. And Allah doesn't have, then we discuss about that, okay, Allah's solution is better or your leader or your religion, then we can discuss about that. Not that just say, okay, your religion is bad, so what happened then? Then what happened to prostitution, drugs, all these problems I was mentioning? Who is going to solve them? Who is going to solve them?
Sure. I want to pass it on to Musa, and I know my colleagues want to speak. So I'll have one more word here, and then I'll pass it on.
Yes,
okay. So Musa, what do you say, Muj?
Muji,
how does that? Muji. Thank you, Muji. Muji. Okay, that's fine. We can talk about the pragmatic value of Islam. We could talk about that versus my system. I'm an atheist. I have got a moral system. I could present you some arguments. I've also researched enough to recognize that there's not simple solutions to every problem. Some problems there are relatively simple in principle solutions, but not everything, even in principle, is easy to answer. We could talk about that. My main critique, or the main thing I'm personally interested in, and you might not, and that's fine, is I care whether something is true or likely to be true. And if somebody comes to me and says, I believe something, and you ought to believe it too, in virtue of it being true, then I'm going to look at that. Because if we talk about pragmatic value, we can do that, but then we have to talk about what the standard is that we're going to use for pragmatic value, so we can have some baseline that we both start from, and then we can agree on things. And that's a whole long conversation. We could have a whole show, or you can come on my other channel. You and I and Stops can just talk about pragmatic value and whether Islam has got anything unique to offer in a solution that I couldn't offer. That we could have a conversation on.
That's my specialty. That's my specialty, okay? That the solution to our problems, okay, that we have to talk about that. Our problem is not that if Allah was God or Jesus was Son of God or Ganesha is a piece of stone, okay? I say to everybody, if Ganesha, that piece of stone, can solve our problems, I will leave this Almighty God, which is Allah, and follow Ganesha. This is true, okay? The truth is this, that we have problems. I say the truth is this, that we have problems and there is a solution to these problems, and that solution is Islam. So if you say that this is not Islam, then present for me your solution.
I understand.
I just have to tell you this one, that I am educated and I accept your view if it is, makes sense. All right. So I'm not a blind person like some people who think that if I reject Allah or if I do that, I go to hell. No, I know Allah loves that I, to challenge him, okay, to challenge even his religion, to prove you that the solution is in Islam. Okay, so
okay, that's fine. I understand. So that's your special. Okay, so then we can have that on a separate thing, and I know my colleagues want to jump in. Yeah, I can do that with you. I don't have a problem. That's not as much of an interest to me, and we can go very nuanced on that, because when you say the solutions on Islam, we're going to look at that and see whether the solutions are in fact there or whether man has made them up. So I won't talk a lot more. I'll leave this to my colleagues.
I just want to summarize that when Rob asked you the question, or when you came in about the fasting, we asked you, is it not a better solution to go and tell people what is going to happen in 2,000 and 3,000 years? Okay. As opposed to making only a message understandable for those people 1400 years ago. Because you keep on telling us that the people in the 7th century didn't know about this. Then you say, but the Quran is for all times. So there's a discrepancy here. There's a contradiction here that you are opening up. So what we've done is we've shown you the contradiction. We've shown you that you cannot have something for the 7th century valid only in the 7th century and then say it's also valid today. Do you understand that?
Yeah, Stops. I don't say stop. I say your name. Your name is Stops. Okay, Stops. I told you, okay, from beginning, I don't say that it is. I'm not like those extremists who say that it is for all time. I told you from beginning that there were verses for few weeks, okay? During
which ones? Yeah, but how do you know which ones?
Abrogated,
abrogated. Which ones? How do you know which ones?
It is, some of them are in Quran, some of them are not in Quran anymore. Okay, but we know that there were abrogated verses of Quran. So anyway, as I said that. I always want to say to my fellow Muslim as well, okay, that those who go and criticize Christianity. Excuse me, we are human beings, okay? We are educated people. Let's talk about our common beliefs, you don't listen
Muji,
to me.
You're talking about something completely different. Why can't you stick to one topic? We're talking about the Quran.
Because you
only
don't
the
understand.
Quran.
No, because you don't understand and you want access.
No, I don't understand. I want to speak only about the Quran. I'm not interested in the Bible or Christianity.
I'm not interested in talking to you, say that, Ganesha is a piece of stone. I'm not talking about that. I want you to tell me, do you care about, where do you come from, Stops? Can I ask you a question? I think you're from India, yeah?
No, I'm South African.
You're South African, but you sound like Indians. You are not originally from India, no?
No.
No, that would be me.
Sorry? That would be
No. Listen, we're talking about the Quran, okay?
Yeah,
please,
I want to tell
Muji,
you. I want to tell you.
I can surprise you, actually. I can say Iranians did.
Yes. No, I'm just going to ask you now.
Vale.
Okay. No, yes. I'm going to ask you this, okay? So I'm going to ask you this, that in Iran, in India, do you care about Syrian people are being bombed? You care first.
That's not the topic. Muji, come on. We are talking about the Quran.
No, I say the Quran came to solve these problems. Are you interested in these problems? Or
no, I am not interested in these problems. We're gonna talk about this.
Yes,
we're gonna talk about this in a different stream, in a different topic, in a different environment. Here on the Muji, on the Gin and Tonic show, we're talking about the Quran. We're asking a question about fasting. You said that there are sentences which are only valid in the 7th. Some sentences are valid today, but we don't know which one is what. So what is it that you are trying to tell us about the sentences of the 7th century and the sentences valid today? Is the Quran valid today, yes or no?
Quran is valid today, yes, exactly.
Okay, but you said that there are sentences which are only valid for 3 weeks.
No, I mean, I don't know you understand or not. I said there were verses that were valid even few hours sometimes, okay?
Okay, that's what you said.
1400 years ago, not today, okay?
Okay, do you understand that this is a contradiction?
What contradiction? What do you mean contradiction?
That you are saying that there are sentences which are valid only for some hours and that the Quran is valid today. That's a contradiction.
No, I said that, have you heard about abrogated and abrogator verses of Quran?
Yes, I have heard about that. And
do you know what is that?
Some totally reject this because nobody knows what was abrogated by whom, where, and when. So this is not the point. I am asking you whether you realize that there is a contradiction in saying that some sentences were valid for a few hours only at a certain time, and then saying the Quran is valid for all time.
No, stop. I told you that. Who told you that they don't know which verses are abrogated?
I am asking you a very, very simple question. Do you understand that there's a contradiction?
I ask you, you say that people don't know what is abrogated verses.
Do you understand that there's a contradiction?
Do you understand what is abrogated verses?
Yes, I understand that, but I'm asking you a question. Do you understand that there is a contradiction in what you said?
So what is abrogated verses of Quran?
Can't you answer my question? No, are you unable to answer it?
No, because you don't answer my question. First,
I asked you a question and you asked me a different question again.
I told you that there were abrogated verses that they were for few weeks. So Quran, not all verses are for all time. Okay. And I told you there are, we have this, ijtihad system in Islam that they can change certain verses by the time. Okay. Otherwise, no, let me see. Do you know about ijtihad system in Quran?
You said that the Quran is valid for all times. Did you not?
Stops. Okay. Stops. I ask you, do you know what is...
let's do one at a time.
System? No.
Muchi, I'm not playing your game. We are taking one step at a time. I'm not going to allow you to tap dance around here, to go all over the show. There is one step at a time. Okay. You said the Quran is valid for all times. Did you not?
I mean, I didn't mean all verses are valid for all time. I said certain verses are valid for all time. I said that you can go and check it. Okay, certain verses of Quran.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, so some sentences are valid for all times and some are not. No, which sentences are valid for all times and which sentences are not?
Do you want me to say it one by one?
No, I want you to give me the criteria. How do you differentiate between the one and the other?
For example, the slavery verses of Quran, they were for 1400 years ago. They are not valid today.
Which ones? Even the ones that say we need to free the slaves, they're also not valid.
Because if you don't have, you can understand, Stops, yourself, that I don't have a slave today to free it. So it's not valid today. Do you understand that? No,
I don't understand that.
No, you don't understand.
What is the criteria that I can apply to be able to differentiate between the sentences that are valid today and the ones that were valid for a couple of hours, which are no longer valid today?
Okay. I told you that's why if you are, mujtahid, okay, if you have studied Quran, if you are good in Quran, if you are not, then you have to ask those who are, who know Quran very well to tell you.
Are you a mujtahid?
I'm not mujtahid, but I'm better than many mujtahid. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so you do not know which sentences are valid today and which ones are not.
I tell you that I cannot tell you one by one, but there are verses like slavery that they are not valid today anymore. Okay.
How have you established that?
How have established? Because it is against the principle of Quran, Islam.
How have you established that?
Establish what?
That it is against the value of the Quran.
Because I have read Quran, I know Quran is just. All Quran says
what is the criteria? So what can I use to establish which sentences are valid today in the Quran? Which ones can I ignore?
Which one? As I said, that those verses they were for 1400 years ago, and that you cannot do it yourself because you don't know anything about Quran.
So what book do I need to read that will tell me what part of the Quran is valid today?
Those who are, I told you that mujtahideen, we call them, okay? And
do they all agree with each other?
No, they are not agree with each other. Definitely not.
Why not?
Because some of them are businessmen, okay? Some of them, yes, it is in all religions. No, stops. It is in all religions, okay? It is in Christianity, in Judaism.
I don't care. Religions. I don't need gods. Yes. This is exactly why I don't need goddesses. Okay, it's silly.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, no, very good. You don't need God, but tell me, then let's talk about if we don't, we reject God, how can we solve our problems? I told you that.
I don't reject a God because gods don't exist. So how can I reject something that doesn't exist?
Okay, all right, yes, okay. Stops. I told you from the beginning as well that if you can show me that you have a leader or somebody who can solve our problems.
There's no leader who has all the solutions to all the problems.
Okay.
Muji, let me ask you a question. Do you think that it's okay to beat your wife?
No.
No. So you agree with me. I also say it is not okay to beat a wife.
Okay.
So how can we agree even though I don't have a God and you do? Why do I agree with you?
What do you mean agree with you?
I agree with you that it's wrong to beat your wife. You say it's wrong to beat your wife. I say it is wrong to beat my wife. Why do we agree even though we have different value sets?
All right. Can I now explain for you? Okay. It is the biggest problems on this planet is not beating wife. Okay. The biggest problems on this planet is much more deeper than simple things. Okay. Simple values. All right. Drugs, prostitution, all these problems,
we said we are going to talk about that on a different stream, not today.
So
I asked you, why is it that we both agree on something where the Quran does not automatically tell you that it's always bad to beat your wife?
Quran doesn't tell us. The Quran says that to beat your wives.
I didn't say that. I said the Quran does not tell you it is always bad to beat your wife.
I mean, Quran tried to solve the problems which was there.
Did the Quran ever say it is always bad to beat your wife?
Quran tells us about just to stand for just, even if it is against you.
Moji, does the Quran say it is always bad to beat your wife?
Because Quran doesn't say it, okay?
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It doesn't say it. And yet, even though the Quran does not say that it's bad to beat your wife, you say it is bad to beat your wife. I also say it is bad to beat your wife. How come we are in agreement if we have different value sets?
No, I told you that this is, today you know it, okay? But hundreds of years ago, you would beat your wife, okay? Today, we have developed this much that we understand that not all of us, even in Mexico, during this lockdown, 1,000 women were killed, okay, in Mexico, in domestic violence, okay? So violence going on even today, but not everybody understands it even in 21st century, okay? But in that case, we do it in another stream, okay? You bring your solution to our problems. If you don't have it, then you have to accept my solution. Okay, because if you care about
that's
humanity,
definitely not the case. No.
If you if you want to call yourself human being, then you should. Otherwise, it's okay. It's up to you to say that no, I'm not a human being, and I don't care about what's happening in Syria, what's happening in India. Yes.
Majid, if I ask you something, it could be the case that Muhammad stumbled upon a solution that nobody else had found. That doesn't mean Islam is true. It simply means that Muhammad, if it were the case, which you would have to prove, if it were the case that Muhammad stumbled upon something, all that means is that we could incorporate some ethical idea that Muhammad stumbled upon and go, yes, that's a good idea, and we'll incorporate that. As Stop said, we can incorporate good ideas and we don't need a God to do so. So your job would need to be to come and show us that there's some ideas that it is impossible for somebody who does not believe in Islam to take on board. If you can do that, you then have a system that is potentially persuadable to us that we ought to join, because otherwise we can say,
let me tell you.
I can accept that idea, but I don't need to believe in God. Do you understand the problem?
Yes, I understand. Let me tell you then. Okay, let me tell you. All right, do you know how the world will end?
Yes.
How it will end?
In about 5 billion years, the sun will expand to become a red giant, will engulf the earth, and the entire earth will be destroyed.
No, Rob, the universe. I didn't say the planet Earth.
Yes. Well, when you say no, I have a good belief about it based on the evidence that's out there, which is that eventually all usable energy will be used up and the universe will get to a zero usable energy state. And there's different models about what will happen thereafter, but at that stage, there will be no life that will be possible.
what is the it is a theory, am I right or not?
Correct. Based on the observations and calculations of the best minds in existence today.
And what is the theory name? That
Sorry?
There are, how many theory exist for end of the day?
We have different models. Where are you going with this?
No, Rob asked me something. I'm going to ask
Dawah, I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to say, oh, I have the solution, the Quran. My God told me that this is how the world's going to end, boom. And then you just want to win the argument like this. Is that correct?
No, it's fine. I mean, I don't know if he can win the argument. Depends what the argument is. I'm not even sure there is an argument. But you're asking me, how will the universe end?
No,
my best speculation, based on what I understand, is the heat death of the universe. In other words, all usable energy will decay away into black holes, and there will be no energy. It will be a voidless, area, if you want to call it that has no usable energy in this universe.
So that's called the big chill. Am I right, Rob?
Well, the heat death is probably the way that it's better described, as I understand.
The big chill.
The heat death of the universe. There's no more energy.
Okay, we don't need to argue about the name. What is your point?
Okay. No, there are two more. Do you know those two more, Rob?
We are not cosmologists. Where are you going?
Okay, now I'm going. He asked me about something. Okay, I'm going to answer him. He said that show me something that Muhammad didn't. I mean, it was impossible that Muhammad knew 1400 years ago, so that he.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said no, Muji. What I asked you is, can you show me something that is impossible for us to accept, as in Stops and myself and others, without believing in God? In other words, you would have to bring us in something and say, hey, look, here is something that you as an atheist are not allowed to say is good. You could only say this is good or useful if you were a Muslim. If you can do that, you have something special. Because anything else you bring me, I can go, yes, but that's something that I can have in my system without accepting God. So you need something that is unique to Allah that I would not be able to accept as an atheist. Then you have a point that I can take seriously. You understand the challenge I'm putting to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you give me an example so that I can think for it next time? Okay.
Yeah, you could say something like, for example, it's not a good one, but the idea would be, hey, without God, you can't pray and get salvation, and salvation is good, and you as an atheist can't get that. Now, I don't think prayer is a good thing, but I'm giving you an example. So you would have to say something about your worldview that excludes me, that it is impossible for me to have, and that I would agree is a good thing. This challenge has been around for many, many years now. No. I've never heard anybody meet this challenge. Okay, and I won't deny it just because I don't want to win the argument. I will accept it if you give me something that I agree is morally good, that I as an atheist am debarred from accepting.
Okay, I will tell you that. The solutions which the problems which I told you on this planet, as an atheist, you cannot solve them without being a Muslim. That's all.
Which one? Give me one example.
That's one you said that we can do it next episode because it takes time. Okay.
Okay, but I think you could give one quick example.
Let's do it on UK. Yeah.
Or we can do it next time. That's fine.
Yes, please, because I want to come to a common, belief to solve our common problems. And I want to tell you something, Rob. In my opinion, in my Islam that I understand, the Quran, I understand, you can go to heaven, okay, without believing in Allah. Okay,
well, then you and I have read.
No, you can't.
Without. No, this is you.
There is no heaven.
Stops. This is, I'm talking to Rob, not to you. I told to Rob, okay, this is the Islam. I believe that as long as Allah says that if you avoid the major bad deeds and you just do, minor bad deeds, I forgive your minor bad deeds. So even Allah is so merciful and forgiving that he knows that you're a human being, you make mistakes, you can do bad deeds, but major bad deeds, he tells you to avoid that, okay? So let's talk about it next time, that if you stick to, for example, I give you an example that Ernesto Che Guevara, okay, he was an atheist, he was a Marxist. For me, Ernesto Che Guevara, he go to heaven, okay, while those ISIS, Taliban, they go to hell, because despite they were praying, fasting, and Che Guevara didn't pray and fasting. That's the Islam that I believe, the Quran that I know, okay? So let's talk about this next week, inshallah, he says in Islam, okay?
Okay,
Right?
we'll email you and we'll work out a time and we can do it on the Speakers
don't know.
Corner UK channel
Yes.
one evening
this
that we
one
can all
or
agree
yours. Okay, on this one or yours, doesn't matter. So
Yeah,
stop.
this one is more the critique of Islam and the Quran, which okay, fair enough. You don't want to do that. So if you want to do this slightly different argument, then we can do that.
I think this is useless for me. For me is, as I said, I want to know which religion has the solution to all our problems. Okay, as I told you as well, I prepare you from now that I follow a prime minister, a president. If they can solve our problems, I don't mind to leave Islam and to don't follow Allah. Okay, if Almighty God cannot solve our problems, then He's not good for anything to be worshipped. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a bad,
very sad, very sad.
Well, you could have a bad you could have a bad being. That's true, right? You just don't know the difference. We can talk about that again. See, the thing is, though, Muji, we have to get to a foundation, because you and I we're probably not going to agree on what the greatest calamities are in the world today. I don't think prostitution is in the top 10 of the worst things on this planet by any stretch, not even in the top 100.
No,
so if we're going to talk about the big problems, we still need to agree on how we get to decide what the big problems are. And then we have to talk about how you think you can solve them and how I or Stops or somebody else might try and solve them.
Very good.
If you can solve them and I can solve them in the same way, then it's irrelevant. I don't need Islam. So remember that in order for you to bring something, you need to say only Islam can solve this, and you, Rob or Stops or whoever, cannot solve this under atheism. You'd have to borrow from Islam. If you can do that, then you have an argument, right?
Very good, Rob. I understand you. Okay, I agree with you.
Okay, good.
If you can do it without Islam, then I agree with you. I will follow. I don't need to pray fast.
This is not what we want. We don't want you to deconvert or anything. This is not our goal.
I know. No, I'm just talking to Bob. Okay, Bob, understand me. All right.
Okay, no problem. We'll arrange that for hopefully next week. One evening next week. I don't know where you're living. I'm in the UK, so it'll probably be around the same time.
In Sweden, so it's okay.
I'm in Sweden.
Okay, so that's probably, then we can arrange something.
Yes,
next week. We'll get in contact on email.
Yes, you can get my
email. By the way, I posted in private chat as well, so we can have further conversations. There's a link to our Discord. We normally go on the Discord after the show, after 10 o'clock. So if you want to come and speak off the internet and you just want to speak with us because there's more people, we can have a more relaxed conversation there. We can do that on Discord. So if you like, join the Discord. There's the link in the private chat.
No, I would like to do it public always.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, Muji, then I look forward to speaking to you next week, okay?
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, and it was very nice talking to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.